Oh yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This is the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up, hey. 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 Way down in the back.
TA. We are live. Welcome into the Tigers Avenue show. Glad to have you in here post opening weekend for college baseball. Man, a really exciting weekend. Always, every year, the anticipation. Obviously, everyone looks forward to it, and Tiger fans obviously always have high expectations, and this year was no different. And so it was really, really fun to get this team on the field, to see them in live action against an opponent that isn't in the same jersey as them, and real games that really count. And boy, did they really, really excel and do some great things this weekend. Really did what they should have done, what they were expected to do this weekend, and was really glad to see that. And obviously just dominated the weekend. But obviously there's some things specifically that we really, really want to talk about and cover. And we'll do that this episode, obviously. And then, of course, there's two more games this midweek and a weekend series again coming up this weekend. So really excited. You just love this time because there's so many games to watch, so much to take in because there's still things being figured out and lineups are changing and all those things. So it's just a fun time. It really is. It makes doing this really, really easy because there's a lot to talk about, as always. So, but first we'll get you a little hoops recap because there's two big things we got to talk about. With men's and women's hoops, two big games. Well, one really big game and something finally positive for the men's basketball team. Let's just put it out there. And there's that, and then obviously the men's, or excuse me, we'll give you a breakdown of this weekend. What happened in the games, kind of how things transpired, and then we'll give you our biggest takeaways from the weekend as well. What really shined and stood out, and maybe we can do like a position type thing and maybe individuals as well. I'm sure we'll give you plenty there. So with that being said, we'll get started. Hoops, men's and women's both played, I believe. Men's was Saturday night and the women's were Sunday afternoon. So maybe you were flipping back and forth between the baseball and basketball game. Maybe you were watching one on your phone, watching one on the big screen, however it was. I know that's pretty much what I was doing, flipping back and forth, trying to keep up with both. But obviously, it was a big-time matchup for the women's team. Zach taking on Texas, number 3 ranked Texas Longhorns in Austin. They come up just short, and I mean just short. I mean, there was – it felt like you controlled this game. It felt like you were going to win this game, and you gave it away late. It really, really stinks to say that. We'll obviously get a little bit more detail on that. But on the flip side, the men's team, finally, after so long, what was it, like a 6-game losing streak, find themselves back in the winning, the W column. saving themselves from falling under 500 now. Eventually, that's probably going to happen. But, as soon as you thought they were, okay, here they go, they're about to fall below 500, they scrape out a road victory against the Oklahoma Sooners. Not a great team, but a good team that was ranked earlier in the season. And you did it on the road, and you did it in dramatic fashion. It was fantastic. The ending of that game, we'll talk about that as well. But, Zach, first, the women's game was the big one. Top 5 matchup that you felt like you controlled. What went wrong there, Zach? What needs to be corrected, and how do we move forward with the rest of the season now having a second loss? I mean, I don't think it's obviously not detrimental to the season, but it stinks. It's like one you really wish you could have gotten. It could have been a staple win this year.
Yeah, what's disappointing, Reagan, is they really dominated a lot of the game. The issue was when you had chances to really pull away, you just didn't. First quarter, you played really good defense, but so did Texas. You had some turnovers that were really costly in there in the first quarter that prevented you from trying to pull away early. Both teams sloppy, and it was only 10-10 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, low score.
Very low scoring. But in the second quarter, you really got going. Your defense continued to be really impressive. You held Texas to 9 points in the second quarter, which was extremely impressive. You're able to get going on offense a little bit. Michaela Williams was extremely impressive there. And you go into half with a decent, decent lead, a pretty good lead on the road at Texas. Third quarter, you got going, started off really hot. You got it out to as far as a 12-point lead, but later on in the third quarter is where things started to unravel for this team. And just really wasn't able to keep Texas at arm's length. Texas was able to chip away. And they had a really good third quarter there, especially in the last, 5 to 6 minutes or so there in the last few minutes of the third quarter. And they were able to score 25 points on you in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, it was turnovers, bad shot selection. It just felt like the offense, Reagan, in the fourth quarter did not have a rhythm. Felt like there was a lot of one-on-one matchups, a lot of ISO, a lot of kind of similar to what you see in the men's game. Like you're just trying to figure out a way to get a shot off, and the offense just was not really smooth. I love last year Poa. I really didn't understand the decision to keep her in the ball game as much as she was in the ball game, especially late there in the fourth quarter when it was so close. I felt like you could have had a better lineup there near the end of the game.
Yeah.
I feel like Kaylin Gilbert's kind of that player that you want later on in the game. So I don't know, Reagan, just really disappointing fourth quarter. You were outscored 21-9, and it was really close until, probably the last 3 minutes or so. Kind of similar to like what you think of LSU men's basketball when they played Ole Miss. Overall, you pretty much handled, were pretty much in control of the entire game for 3.5 quarters, and then just kind of gave it away there at the end. But mainly in the fourth quarter is where you lost this game at. I think this was a type of game, Reagan, where there was a lot of good, but there was also a lot of bad. The turnovers was really disappointing, as Carl mentions there in the comments. 19 turnovers in the game. I mean, you just can't have it. LSU's got to be able to clean up the turnovers. They were held only 58 points, Reagan. This is a team that is near tops in the country in scoring per game. I don't know where they're exactly at right now after this past Saturday, but they were a top 3 team in the country for a large part of the season in scoring. And you weren't able to offensively do what you need to do at the bookend of this game, at both bookends of this game, to really be able to pull this off. But man, in the second and third quarter, especially early on in the third quarter, you looked like a team that could really
Yeah.
compete for a national championship the way you played. Texas is a really, really good team.
Yeah.
Texas has beaten. This is like their fifth top 10 win this season.
Yeah.
Like they're really good. And to go on the road and play the way that you did in that second and third quarter was really encouraging. You just kind of wish early on, and especially in the fourth quarter, that LSU could have put it together a little bit better.
Yeah.
I don't think this is something where we're gonna go away going, this is a team that's not going to be able to go very far in the tournament. I think this is a team that can go very far in the tournament. There's just some things they got to clean up. The disappointing thing is we're this late in the season and you're still seeing some of the issues. You're still seeing a lot of numbers, and you're still seeing, some issues as far as offensively. You go through these slumps where it really costs you in games. It cost you in the South Carolina game. It's cost you in other games where they were really close. Fortunately, LSU's talent was just able to prevail in those other games, and it cost you here in this massive game against Texas. So,
yeah,
I think the girls are going to be all right. You went on the road. Both of your losses are on the road against top 5 teams. That's your 2 losses. So,
pretty good resume.
Yeah. What does it look like whenever you're at home? I mean, to have to go on the road to 2 top 5 teams, that just sucks. I mean, it's just an unfortunate draw for LSU women's. So it was disappointing, Reagan. I think it was most disappointing because of how much you controlled the game. That was why it was really disappointing for a lot of these people, Reagan. And moving forward, LSU is going to have to get better at protecting the basketball. They're going to have to get better at protecting the basketball. They're going to have to get better at figuring out offensively.
What's up, Zach?
I think
He said 9-9.
Night, bud. Love you.
Buddy.
What's so quiet?
It's in my ears. Love you, buddy. Night,
always good to have a Zeke feature there.
Yeah, always the 9-9 feature.
yeah, always. It's always a blessing. Anyways, overall, Reagan, LSU's just got to clean up a few things.
Yeah.
I mentioned the turnovers. LSU's really got to figure out offensively some other players to lean on whenever your big three's out, right? Because you can't – I mean, you really need a whole team, Reagan. This team is ran by and goes as the big three goes, right? So down the stretch, though, you're going to have to find some contributors that can give you some really quality minutes. And look, we saw that in the Tennessee game. We saw that. Kaylin Gilbert, right? Miracle Shepherd. Both of those players gave considerable contributions in the Tennessee game.
It was 20. What was it? 23 points for Gilbert.
23 for Gilbert and 8 for Miracle Shepherd.
More often. You gotta have that more often.
You gotta have that happen more often, especially in games like this.
Yeah.
So you can't just rely on your big three when it comes to these games, because these teams that are better and they have really good coaches, they're going to be able to game plan around those big three. And so you've got to do a little bit better. I mean, your big three, look at this, Reagan. Are you ready for this?
Tell me.
Outside of your big three in this game, you scored 9 points.
Whew.
9 points. Samaya Smith had 3. Cheyenne Day Wilson had 1.
Rough.
Kaylin Gilbert had 3. And Lassiter Poe had 2.
Gilbert had 3. That's brutal.
Your bench points was 5 points. You go from a game where you had 30 plus points off the bench to going against the number 3 team in the country and having 5 points off the bench. It's just not going to get it done. It's just not. So I definitely felt. Look at this, Ray, and this is my biggest issue. This is my biggest issue with this game. I love Kim Mulkey. I think Kim Mulkey is a phenomenal coach. I would not say by any means that, I think I know better than her.
Sure.
Last year, Poa, minutes, 25. Kaylin Gilbert, 6.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a mistake. And
what, Zach, whether we – and Kim Mulkey does know better than us. She does.
she does.
But regardless of that, that does not mean coaches cannot receive criticism.
Or make mistakes.
Regardless of what they do, what they're paid, they were hired to do certain things. And look, if you and I do a crappy job, Zach, at our jobs, we're criticized.
Yeah.
Criticism. We're paid to do a certain job, and we're criticized if we don't do a good job.
Yeah.
The same is true for coaches, Division I coaches. Just because they're seen and they have a little bit bigger of a platform does not take away from the fact that it's their job. And they're open to criticism regardless of how good they are.
Yep.
That doesn't mean they're horrible. But we can look at that and go, that probably should have been different. Gilbert probably definitely needs to play more than 6 minutes.
And she had 6 minutes. Right? In those 6 minutes,
yeah,
she took 3 shots. She only made one of those, but one of those was an and one.
Yeah.
That was able to keep you close once Texas had kind of started pulling away there late in the fourth quarter. And then you take her out and you have Last Year Poa go the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. During the game, I didn't understand that. You go back and you look at the box score, and it's really eye-popping and questionable.
I'd like to hear a thought process, like Kim Mulkey's thought process on that.
I didn't get to see her post-game interview.
Surely somebody asked. I don't know. Maybe there was something there. I don't know. I need to go watch that.
And honestly, Reagan, look, I don't want to ever hate on a player or,
No. Yeah.
But I just really feel like if you're gonna rely on Last Year Poa that much, she needs to start over Cheyenne Day Wilson. Like if you're gonna rely on her that much, and then you need to have Kaylin Gilbert for crucial moments in the game.
Yeah.
Near the end of the second half, near the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It's just I get why Kaylin Gilbert's coming off the bench because she's a really great player to have coming off the bench. But you gotta utilize her to the best of your ability. And 6 minutes off the bench is not utilizing her to the best of your ability. She just came off a game where she scored 23.
Yeah, she's got more minutes.
She just came off a game where she scored 23. You're on the road against a top 25 team, a top 5 team.
Yeah.
And your player who won you the game against another ranked opponent last time out only puts in 6 minutes and gets 3 shots up. It's disappointing in my opinion. Anyways, moving on. The men had the opposite, Reagan. It was really impressive what the men did.
Well,
it's like reverse psychology this weekend.
I don't know if I want to say super impressive, but it was certainly exciting.
Well, I was being a little sarcastic there, because
Right.
It's been, it's been rough.
It was impressive compared to what's been going on.
Yeah.
So, but look, I will say this, Zach. I'll say this. I really, really was impressed, and and it makes me feel a little bit better about Matt McMahon by the energy of the bench when you've lost so many games in a row.
Yeah.
And you're really about to lose this game again, and you snatch it from the jaws of defeat. Literally snatching it from defeat. I mean, that I was about to turn it off.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I said, no, I'm not going to turn it off. I'm going to give it a chance. because they got to Oklahoma. They had cut the lead. Right. Okay. So shout out to Jai Bailey, by the way. Shout out to Damian Collins, who had great games.
Damian Collins went off.
Kept LSU in this game. And then, of course, Cam Carter's second half performance was phenomenal. I can't remember how many second half points he wound up with. It was in the second half alone, he had like 25 points, something like that. I know he had 5 in the first half. And then at one point, he had 23 points in the second half. So, but
yeah, 29 total.
29 total. Okay, so in the second half, then he had 24 points. So shout out to those guys but Damian and Jai, I felt like really grounded you and kept you in it, kept fighting, and then Cam just popped off in the second half. Yeah, Damian was going off. But just to see the passion and the excitement from the bench, regardless of how bad it's been, I was like, okay, that's a good thing. This is a good thing. How easy would it be for them to fold up, pack it in, and kind of tap out?
And you didn't have Corey Chest.
And you didn't have Corey Chest. That's right. That's another thing. So I was very impressed. But that's not the point. So you fought and clawed your way back, and it got to like a 3-point game, and then they stretched it out. Like it was like you couldn't get over the hump. You had opportunities to tie the game, and you couldn't get it. And it got to less than a minute left, and the lead was 5. After you had gotten a foul, they hit free throws, and it kind of felt like the game was getting iced. And with about 34 seconds left, I think it was, with a 5-point lead, Cam Carter goes down. We bring the ball down, and Matt McMahon is not taking a timeout. And something kind of goes wrong, and they were forced to call a timeout. I can't remember exactly what happened, but they got kind of jumbled up and kind of like messed up whatever they were trying to run. And so they called a timeout. And I'm like, it's over. They can't even get the play in. You know, it's crunch time. It's 30 seconds left, and you can't even get your play in that you were wanting to. Like, they were wanting to run the play without calling a timeout, and they couldn't even pull that off.
Yeah.
Because Oklahoma was just not allowing them to do what they wanted to do. Anyways, but off of that timeout, they run a little action at the elbow. Cam Carter gets a shot up, gets fouled on the shot, hits the 3. Massive moment, because it's a 5-point lead, and now you can cut the lead to 1. And so, I mean, it was such a huge swing of momentum for that to happen, because it felt like when they had to call that timeout with a 5-point lead, it was like, okay, this is over. And he pulls that off, hits the free throw, and you're like, okay, here's a chance. There's a chance. Even if you have to foul them, there's 24 seconds on the clock, 24-ish seconds on the clock. You can
get a
foul
3
them,
up if they make
you can get a 3 up to tie it before the buzzer gets off. That's right. Well, he hits the free throw. They inbound. They get pressure. I think it was Curtis Givens gets the steal. They obviously trapped him, got the steal. Curtis Givens got the shot, got the steal, or somebody poked it, and Curtis ended up with the ball, something like that. And he gives it back to the top of the key to Cam Carter. There's about, at this point, 18 seconds left. They look to Matt McMahon. He tells everybody to clear out, let Cam go. Cam drives the lane, goes right by the guy, gets the shot, and 1. You know, and at that point, it was like,
what is happening?
I don't want to yell because the kids are sleeping, but it was just like, you know, like it was one of those elation moments. It was like, yeah, we just pulled this off. You know, when it looked like the same stinking thing was fixing to happen for LSU, You get a 3-pointer and one, steal, bucket and one, like boom, boom, boom. And you're just like, what just happened? And it went from a 5-point deficit to a 2-point lead. Well, it was 81-79. Yeah, 2-point lead. I think with the was that the final score?
82-79 was the final
Okay,
score.
so the and one made it 82. So you got the 3-point lead. So even if they got a shot up, they're tying it. And there's only a couple seconds left. It's 8 seconds, I think, left. They get the ball in, they go down, they get a shot up, they miss it, and we get the rebound, and Oklahoma fouls us. And at that point, it's over.
Yeah.
Because we have 2 shots and there's 0.8 seconds on the clock. Now they reviewed it or whatever, but they fouled us regardless. So we're getting 2 shots to ice the game. They can't get a shot up, quick enough and rebound it or try and get a steal. There's just mathematically it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you're finally like, they finally stinking broke through. It was just awesome. And the bench was going nuts. And I was like, when you're down and out like that, and it just sucks, and you're losing night in, night out, and you have something like that happen, it just feels good. You're happy for those guys because they're grinding. They're going through a gruesome schedule in the SEC, and it's brutal. And guess what? It's gonna be really bad for them again. And I say that in light of this.
You better get tomorrow night.
Right. You better stink and beat South Carolina. You can win back-to-back games because after that,
that'd be the highlight of the season right there.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet after that. I mean, it's another. I can't remember. It's like 5 straight games against top
Florida,
teams,
Tennessee State, Kentucky, Texas A&M. All ranked.
God bless them.
Who knows? Maybe they'll get one. You never know.
And I hope they do. But either way, it's not going to be easy. And there's going to be a lot more else.
Now, remind me, Reagan, does every team get in the SEC tournament?
I believe so. I believe with the new setup, every team gets in the SEC tournament with 16 teams because it's perfectly even. You have 16 teams, the bracket's even.
I wasn't sure if the bottom 2 get left out or the bottom 4.
No. It's a perfect bracket. So you have 16. You play. There's 8. You play. There's 4. You play. There's 2. So yeah, it's all of them. So you will get an SEC tournament. Single elimination. So you will have that, but you're likely playing Alabama, probably. Because you're probably going to be, if you beat South Carolina will probably get Auburn, and you'll be playing Alabama as the 15 seed against the 2 seed. Or Florida, one of them. So it's going to stink, but either way, my point in saying that is I'm happy for them to have that. It was a hard, you came back, it was on the road. You made the improbable happen late in the game. It was something for them to be excited about, and I was happy for that. So, with all the garbage going on, that was good for them. And also, Zach, I know we really need to move on because we're 30 minutes in already, and we got to talk all about baseball. But really quickly, and we'll transition. Today, it was reported by Shea Dixon and has been going around now that LSU, and we just talked about this on our last show, LSU is sticking with Matt McMahon as they should have. I don't think he was getting fired either way. I really don't think he was on the hot seat proverbially.
No.
But it's announced, hey, we're sticking with him, and the NIL support is going to be there next year. So this offseason could be really, really something to watch. I mean, how much more are they going to invest in? And that's what we were just talking about. How much money is it going to stinking cost you to uproot everything again when you really could just be putting that money towards supporting the NIL? So it seems like that's what they're going to do. We'll see how it goes. We saw what LSU football could do in the portal, right?
Yeah.
when the NIL dollars were there, and it was like everybody was like, okay, let's give, let's do it. Now it's not going to be the same thing, obviously, but maybe it could be something a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, anyways, with that being said, it was great for the men's basketball to pull that off against Oklahoma. You get to play South Carolina at home, very winnable game. Hopefully, they can get back-to-back wins. Have a good positive note here towards the end of the season, even though it's going to be rough. They're going to finish things out. So, anyways, love you, men's hoops. We're praying for you. We're praying for you. All right, Zach, with that being said, obviously what a lot of people are here to hear about is this past weekend with LSU baseball. Man, there's just so much. There's so much to talk about. The transfers, the freshmen, the bullpen, the starters. Like, it's just so much here. So take it game by game, Zach. 14-0. Cade Anderson's on the bump to get the win Friday night, dominant fashion. I'll just do a quick recap here of these games.
Yeah.
You scored in a whole lot of ways. You didn't use the long ball one time on Friday night. Saturday, Anthony Ianson, 5 innings again, 10-1 victory. You finally saw the long ball kick in with Danny Dickinson getting your first one of the season, which, by the way, man, Danny Dickinson, somebody we're going to talk about. And then it was Curiel and Bear back-to-back in the game as well. And then, of course, Sunday you had Chase Shores, another 5 innings, another great start. You won 8-1. Ashton Larson was kind of the hero of the day. We're going to have to talk about Ashton Larson. Gets the bomb to get the offense rolling, to take the lead for the Tigers when they were down 1-0. I think it was like the 4th or 5th inning when he hit that home run, and it kind of sparked things and went from there. So, yeah, Zach, it was a dominant weekend overall. You had, pitching-wise, 45 strikeouts to 2 walks. I mean, pumping
Really
the
impressive.
zone. Pumping the zone. So, Zach, I mean, where do we start? I guess Friday night, Zach. First lineup comes out. Josh Pearson's at DH, Brown's in right. I should have stuck with my gut and put Josh at DH.
And Milam at the bottom third. Musso had it right.
He did. Musso did have it right. By the way, I let him know that. He had a little post-game live that he did, and I let him know, hey, you had it right. You had Milam down there, and you got it. And but I should have stuck with my gut. I should have stuck with Josh. I knew the veteran was going to get it. But, oof, man, Larson, going to be hard to keep him out of that spot.
Very much.
So, but yeah, that lineup. And then, of course, Luis Hernandez gets the start on Friday night as well. But then you saw all 3 catchers on Friday night. You saw Luis get the start. You saw Aaron Beatty come in later. And then Blaze, I think, came in like the 9th inning. He didn't even get in that bat. I think he came in to catch in the very last inning. So, anyways, those were like the big question marks. But the rest of it was exactly what you expected it to be. Curiel was in left, Stanfield in center, Braswell at third, Milam at short, Dickinson second, and Jared at first, and Cade got it on the bump. And man, Zach, I guess that's where we need to start. Is Cade on Friday night. Zach, he looks like a different cat. I mean, he's polished. So give me your thoughts, Zach, Friday night, first game, and then we'll just move from there. Cade was great.
Well, I mean, he definitely lived up to the hype that had built the previous week coming up to this weekend. Started hearing things about Cade Anderson possibly getting the Friday night start. Then, of course, it's released. He's going to be the Friday night guy, which was a little bit of a surprise for some people, even for us. but ultimately really dominant outing. Really didn't struggle. Gave up 1 walk, 8 Ks in 5 innings. Just really impressive work by him, and looked very poised. I know the fastball is not, super impressive like some of these other arms we saw this weekend. I know it's not a, blow by you heater, but just really good at commanding the baseball. Has so many pitches, Reagan. I think out of all the pitchers, the biggest thing that gives Kate Anderson advantage is that he has 4 pitches that he can throw for a strike. Yeah. So that's the big advantage that he has. And obviously he proved that on Friday night. Yeah. Danny Dickinson, Reagan, would it translate? The answer so far, yes. I know he hasn't gone up against SEC hitting. We'll have to see what it looks like once he gets to SEC hitting, but immediately makes his name known. Very first day, very first game to start this season, going 3 for 4, 5 RBI, Reagan. He was extremely impressive.
Double off the wall.
But more impressive, Reagan, was the 2 freshmen that came out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Kason Evans from the right side and Cooper Williams from the left side. Yes. Kason Evans looks like a dangerous man. He really does.
Man on a mission.
Me and you were talking about it.
Yes.
That's why we actually started the show a little bit late. We were supposed to start it. We started about 2 minutes late. It's because me and Reagan were talking about Kason Evans or Kason Evans, however you want to say it. Dude, 98 got up to 98 miles per hour. Just has the swagger and the feeling of a closer. Which, I mean, you could probably say a couple of guys. There's probably a couple of guys that are going to be vying for that spot. Yeah. As it gets to crunch time, and as we get into the in depth of the SEC schedule, and potentially postseason. But man, Kason Evans looked extremely impressive. I would argue to say that he was the most impressive thing to me this weekend. He's up there. If he's not number 1, he's number 2 for sure. For me. Yeah. I mean, just the way he was so dominant. It's really, really encouraging. And then Cooper Williams from the left side. Reagan, we talked about how, from the left side, you're not as strong as you were, or I should say, you don't have as many arms as you did last year.
Stronger, though.
But I think you are stronger this year, at least from the onset. Yeah. So,
and man,
Cooper Williams looked really good too. Reagan, he looked really good.
He was 96. He was 96, 95, 96.
And that's what's so awesome about these guys is you see all these freshmen and they're all throwing 95 and up, which is just, I mean, a lot of these guys are throwing 95 and up, and it's crazy. It's crazy, Reagan. I don't want to spoil it, but as far as if you want to, before moving on to Saturday and Sunday, just to jump the gun here, Reagan, the most impressive thing this weekend was the freshman arms by far.
Yeah.
By far.
There's no doubt. We thought, which there's someone we still haven't even seen yet, but everybody was like the portal arms. Well, I think there is major depth because of the portal arms.
Yeah,
100%. Like, I really like it. Kind of, I mean, we can pretty much transition to Saturday if we want to. I mean, that was
one more thing, Reagan, on Friday.
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
What I really liked about Friday is, and leading into Saturday, Friday you saw an offense that was able to get it done outside of the long ball.
Absolutely.
They manufactured runs. They moved guys over. They got guys home with singles and doubles.
That's right.
Drawing walks. I mean, all that. They were very aggressive on the base pass. And that was a little bit.
They were successful. They were successful.
Yeah. Now they had a little bit of some issues as far as base running goes. If you can talk about that, but Friday they were able to put up 14 runs, and they didn't have to rely on the long ball. Didn't have a single home run on Friday night. So yeah,
14.
that was really impressive to me as well as far as Friday goes.
Yeah, and I'm glad you made that point because that certainly was something that stuck out to me. Just producing and manufacturing runs was, really what you needed to see from this team because the home run ball ain't going to be there. And game one, they showed it to you. Saturday, Zach, that's what I was saying. Saturday, the transfer portal arms. Myers, what was it on Friday night? He pitched between Kaysen and Cooper.
Yeah.
I think he gave you an inning. He pitched. Obviously, Ianson started on Saturday. You saw Connor Benj on Saturday.
Yep.
So, yes, I totally agree with you, Zach, that the freshman arms, they popped more. It was like, whoa. And because you have these portal arms as well, this staff is crazy deep because of it. I like what I saw from Ianson. He clearly has exactly what everybody was wanting from him. I mean,
Great splitter. Holy cow, the splitter.
the splitter, yes.
That was my
Absolutely.
takeaway. 5 innings, 5 Ks, and the splitter was phenomenal.
It was. It was. I was really impressed with, even him. He's not. Both Cade and Ianson are not 97, 98. Not even really 96, but on the fastball. But they have a good mix of pitches. They have a good mix of pitches that they mix well, can hit it well, and that's why. If you can keep pitchers or batters off balance, sometimes you don't want just 2 pitches and a super hard, and one of them is a super hard fastball, right? Because then they can sit on you, and they can either lay off and hit your off speed, or they can be looking fastball and nail it, right? If you got 4 solid pitches, which Cade Anderson does, and I think Ianson's really got 3 solid. Mixing it keeps them off balance. And by the way, I know I'm jumping back a little bit, but the slider for Anderson was the big addition.
Yeah.
Really liked it. I mean, he went from not having it last year, not being able to throw it, to it's his second best pitch. It's better than his curveball. And last year he was real reliant on the fastball, curveball, and he lost time because he could not develop the slider last year, but he's got it. It's his second best pitch. That was really impressive. But him and Ianson mixed pitches well. Saturday you didn't quite, early on it wasn't the offense wasn't just boom, 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 and it really was like that on both games, Saturday and Sunday. But then you got going when, Danny Dickinson hit one out. And, man, Danny Dickinson, okay, Sunday, I mean, that was his, I don't even want to say worst day of the week.
I mean, he got on base twice.
He got on base twice, but that was the day he wasn't crushing the ball.
He did crush the ball, just right at guys.
Right at people. That's exactly. But Danny Dickinson got things going on Saturday with his home run, and it just fell in line from there. Connor Benj came in again. He was good. I'm drawing a blank, but I know the guy who closed was Maverick Rizzi.
DJ Primo came in between Connor Benj and Rizzi, and Primo looked really good from the left side too.
Primo has taken some major leaps forward. So tip of the cap to Nate Yeski for all of this, by the way. Primo's taken he's a guy Primo is a guy that probably not going to eat up a lot of innings for you, but situationally he's a guy I think you're going to be able to trust. And you need those guys. And so yes, he looked a lot better than what he did in the prior years. And then it was Maverick Rizzi, Zach.
Maverick Rizzi looked really good too, man.
Dude,
the heat.
He is a giant. I mean, Kaysen Evans Cooper Williams looked like a freshman. Okay, I'll say that.
Yeah, Cooper Williams looked like a freshman.
But Kason Evans
No.
and Maverick Rizzi look like they're freaking super seniors. I mean, Kason is not because of his size; it was because of the way he carried himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he carried himself like a vet. Maverick Rizzi just built like Goliath.
William Schmidt.
And, I mean, was out there throwing heat. I mean, this freshman class is going to be special, Zach. It's
Bro,
going to be so special.
Maverick Rizzi, Kason Evans, and William Schmidt could all be your closers. Could all be your closer. I mean, legit.
Yeah. Now, you got to – it was one performance each, right? You're going to have to see consistency. But still –
which one's going to be consistent?
I mean, 96 to 97 is pitching anywhere. Anywhere. And they got more than that. So, he was amazing, Maverick. Cooper Williams came in and struck out the side, right?
Oh, yeah, Cooper Williams looked really good too, bro. I'm telling you.
I can't remember what he did. I think he got 2 strikeouts. And then, of course, and then Sunday came and Shores, Zach, that was the big anticipation. Chase Shores, it's been a long time. He's recovered for a long time. What's it going to look like?
There was no rust.
He was just as good. He was just as good as anybody else this weekend. 5 innings.
7 Ks.
7 Ks. Really settled in, right? The first inning, I mean, really it wasn't even a bad inning. They got 2 singles off of him, and you had runners on the corners. I'm trying to remember how they got the run in.
It was the double steal. No,
it was the double steal.
Yeah, it was the double steal.
I don't think they drove him in.
That the double steal was on Shores. Yeah.
Yes. I don't think that. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say they didn't even drive in the run, and
first, Milam looked, and then as soon as he made the decision to go back to Bayer at first, runner took off from third and scored.
Yes. So even in that situation where the run came in, he could have got out of that, right? That necessarily – now the runner did – it was his runner, right, that he allowed. But they didn't even drive the run in off of him. That's beside the point. After that inning, he allowed 1 hit the rest of his time, right?
Yeah.
4 innings the rest of the way, 7 strikeouts, 1 more hit after that. That's good baseball, period. Good pitching. His fastball, it didn't get up to 100, right, like it once did. But I'll take 98. Okay, I'll take 98. I think we can live with that. Yeah. He looked great. He's another guy he's going to be in the rotation if he continues to do that. If he continues to be consistent like that. He'll be a featured guy the whole game. And shoot, I said this last show, I'm going to say it again. I like Chase Shores on a Sunday every time.
Yeah, it's
every time. You don't have that for most. You just don't have a guy like that. Chase Shores on Sunday is going to win a lot of ball games. Very excited about him. And man, I was shocked after that. You didn't see Connor Ware. You didn't see Cowan. They went to Grant Fontenot.
And Grant looked good.
Grant Fontenot looked good. He looked good, man. He really did. And so
literally, Reagan, there was not one single pitcher that came out the bullpen or started this weekend that looked bad. Not a single one. And that's not purple and gold glasses. You don't have 45 strikeouts on a weekend for the first time since 1992 without having really good pitching. And they did. You had 2 walks, Reagan. You had 2 walks. And that was from the starters. The bullpens did not walk a single batter. Not one single batter did the bullpen walk.
Didn't allow a run.
The bullpen did not allow a run. The 2 runs came on Ianson and Chase Shores. And then you had the 2 walks were Anderson and Ianson. So it's gonna be it'll be interesting, I think, Reagan, to see if the rotation stays just like this. I do believe, Reagan, that there is the potential for Shores to jump Ianson and move to that Saturday slot as he develops and as he, as he gets used to his normal routine, week in and week out routine.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility. I really do.
Either way,
I mean, you got Ianson on Sunday if that's the case, but yeah, Reagan, just overall really impressive.
Who's after Fontenot, Zach?
After Fontenot, I think they went to William Schmidt to end the game, and that was it. I think I could be wrong. No, it was William Schmidt, and then they ended the last battle with Jaden Newton.
With Jaden Newton, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. One pitcher.
Other takeaways, Reagan. Obviously, Larson stole the show offensively on Sunday. Curiel looked really good in left. He had a dive and catch on Sunday. You had some issues as far as the runners in scoring position. You let the bases loaded twice with less than 2 outs.
Yeah.
That was disappointing. Danny Dickinson, and the first time Dickinson hit an absolute laser, and it just unfortunately found the glove.
Went straight to the second baseman.
To the second baseman. So that was unfortunate. He went oppo, and it just went right to the second baseman. It was just unfortunate of circumstance. Stanfield was definitely safe on his steal at second.
100%.
100%. His three fingers on his right hand had already hit bag before the glove was even there. Don't know how they reviewed that and still said
I felt like it was in it. I felt like it was indisputable evidence.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I felt like it was indisputable. So
yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, Stanfield was solid, by the way.
Stanfield,
he did what he wanted to do in center. Got on base multiple times. That's what you want out of a leadoff hitter is get on base, and he did.
And the big question, Reagan, is going to be after Sunday. What do you do with Larson? Because Larson, and don't forget, yes, Sunday was great, but he came in on Saturday and immediately got a base hit. So Larson is going to be
2 runs.
Larson is going to be very difficult to keep out of the lineup for sure.
DH spot is kind of his right now until somebody takes it from him.
Curiel looked really good this weekend, but I think later on you're going to see it get to a point where Larson's DHing and Pearson is going to take Curiel's spot. Not all the time, but I think Pearson will fill in left some. And
you think he's going to take his spot?
I think he's going to start over him some games. I do. I think Curiel will sit the bench.
I don't think some midweek games. I
think in SC competition we will see Pearson take Curiel's spot for some games.
Maybe so. Maybe it doesn't click right away in SEC play. So maybe I could.
That's not me being negative of Curiel. Curiel looked really good this weekend. I just think it's going to take some time for a true freshman to learn his way through the SEC. So does he come out for opening weekend versus Missouri and starts? I would probably predict that you see Curiel start and left all 3 games probably, or maybe at least the first 2 games against Missouri. But, as the schedule gets tougher, I think maybe you see more of Larson because of the experience, because of all the obviously all the SEC experience he has, and he's used to SEC pitching,
Sure.
I mean, Curiel's gonna be seeing that for the first time, right? Josh Pearson's on his 4th year, so he's been there, done that. So I think as far as when you look at issues that LSU has, it really wasn't a lot, Reagan.
It wasn't.
But things to work on, things to kind of look at. What do you do with Larson? What do you do with Larson? Because he's going to have to be in the lineup. I think Pearson is there, but it's going to take a little bit of time as far as him and Curiel are battling it out. I think Brown has kind of solidified himself in right field. I don't know.
He was good this weekend too.
He was good this weekend. He was kind of quiet, but quietly good. I think the biggest thing you got to figure out, Reagan, is catcher, because there was issues There was
Yep.
pass balls.
Yep.
There was issues with all the catchers.
Receiving. Luis was having trouble receiving the ball on Friday night a few times. There was
The only
Only
error of the
twice.
weekend for LSU, which that's another thing we haven't even mentioned. The defense was phenomenal. Steve Milam was great at shortstop. Michael Braswell looked good moving over to third. You had one error on the weekend, and it was a catcher's interference because Luis tried to go get a ball.
You had two, but the other error was on DJ Primo.
Yeah,
it was a throwing error. So none of your errors were actually
your defenders. Yeah,
right. A defensive play. It was a catcher's interference and a pitcher making a wild throw.
Yeah.
So yeah, defense was very clean, very clean. Other than Zach, I think the one thing they're going to have to work on, and this is on offense and defense. Number one, the base running, right?
Yeah.
You got caught stealing a few times, and then
out of state. Purdue Fort Wayne's catcher was really good.
There could have been that too. Larson overran first a little bit too much on his hit.
Got caught
and got caught up. The cutoff man caught him and threw it behind him, and he just got stuck, and it was what it was. And you would have had runners on the corners, 1 out. Instead, you had runner on third, 2 outs. Anyways. And then on the defensive side, there was that moment when you got the double steal going, you started running the pickle, and you got late going home. You were behind the runner going home. So both sides, watching the runners, keeping up with the runners, and being the runners, right? Stealing bases, making sure you don't get too far off the bag, things like that. That's really, I think, the biggest thing you ever clean up.
And that's very fixable.
Definitely. And I listened to all of Jay's post-game interviews. He didn't seem too concerned about it when he was asked about it, because he was. And like you said, mentioned how it's a fixable issue and they will work on it. So I foresee that happening.
Reagan, we need to take a break.
Yeah, we do. It's
go ahead and mention a few more things you wanted to mention.
I was just gonna say overall it was a dominant weekend, and then I think after this break we'll give our big, takeaways. Like, these are the big things. So we'll do that right after this.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at OneNationDoty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
Right back at it here in the Tigers Avenue show. Zach, we got some comments we definitely got to get to.
Yeah, TT says, "What's up, guys?" TT,
up, TT?
Good to see you as always. One of our regulars. I hope you enjoyed this weekend watching baseball team. Carl Dunn has been in here talking about the girls basketball team. Glad to have Carl Dunn in here. He said we've got to get out to a game. Let's see, where is that at? He mentioned it somewhere in here. Yeah, here it is. Tigers got some arms. Y'all need to make it down soon. Mario Collada, who is pitching tomorrow? We talked about this, Reagan, before we started the show. Mario, it's my opinion that you will probably see Zach Cowan. I think you'll see Zach Cowan tomorrow with Connor Ware first out of the bullpen and Gavin Guidry to close. And then I think, because they really didn't run Myers that long, I think you're going to see Myers start on Wednesday. That's just my personal opinion. They have starter. They have obviously ton of a starter experience. Myers came out Friday, so he's going to have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday rest. I think he comes out and starts on Wednesday because obviously LSU played 5 games.
You also didn't see Chandler Dorsey either.
You didn't see Chandler Dorsey?
I think you'll see him somehow either. Or out of the pen probably.
Chandler Dorsey, Connor Ware, Gavin Guidry, Zach Cowan, I think Jacob Myers, and then probably some of those other guys.
Yes.
All those guys, Reagan.
You want a big takeaway? These guys did not play all weekend, and your pitching was amazing.
Yeah.
That's how deep you are, guys.
Yeah. Anyways, TT actually didn't get to watch. I worked nights all weekend. TT, Wheels on YouTube. Go subscribe to Wheels on
Yes.
YouTube.
Wheels is the
Releases the highlights for every single LSU baseball game. Be sure to go and
Yes.
subscribe to Wheels. Dad's in here. He said, did y'all hear the good news? Baseball is back. I predict we go to Omaha,
Yes.
and I'm going to go this year. If you're
Hey.
going, you better take
Hey.
us.
Hey, if you're going to Omaha, we're going with you.
Yeah, we're going with you if
Going with you.
LSU makes it to Omaha. If LSU makes it to Omaha.
I-
So,
I'm
anyways,
there.
Reagan, big takeaways. Biggest takeaway for me, and I mentioned it earlier when I jumped the gun a little bit. Biggest takeaway is your freshman arms for
100%.
sure. Your
100%.
freshman arms was the biggest takeaway from this weekend, no doubt. If you want to go to the offensive side of the ball, Danny Dickinson looks like he is indeed a first-round talent.
Yeah.
Obviously, he got a lot of hype coming in as a transfer, mentioned as a first-round draft pick in the mock drafts,
Yeah.
and looked at the part. I know it's Purdue Fort Wayne. How does that translate in SEC play? We'll see. But that was the biggest takeaway for me on offense. Another big takeaway I didn't mention, Reagan, but Bear Jones was very patient at the plate this weekend. We know that this season he is going to be pitched around
Yes.
because of his threat for the long ball. And yeah, I think you showed us there. He walked five times this weekend. So
5.
very
Yeah.
patient at the plate. We know that was an issue for him his freshman year and sometimes last year. Bear Jones has continued to progress.
He's gonna be
And
great,
then,
man.
I mean, you want to go back to pitching, the starters looked really
Really
good. Really good. I mean, really, biggest takeaway outside of that is you got to settle on catcher. I think that's the biggest question mark for LSU right now as far as a position. You got to figure out who's going to be your guy at catcher. Seems like that's going to be a battle between Aaron Beatty and Luis Hernandez. I think Luis Hernandez, probably a little bit better defensively, maybe. It's going to be tough. I don't know, Reagan. But Aaron Beatty and Luis Hernandez both struggled this weekend a little bit.
It's like
it's like 1A, 1B, honestly. So
that's ongoing. That's ongoing.
We'll see what happens on Tuesday and Wednesday. Maybe Blaze Priester gets a start on Wednesday or Tuesday. Who knows? But as far as what to watch, that's going to be the biggest what to watch for LSU moving forward is who settles in at catcher.
Still the biggest
outside of that, Reagan, LSU looked really, really good on the opening week. Again, I know it's Purdue Fort Wayne, but when you have all these high expectations, you have all these arms, you have all this talent, what you need to do is go out and dominate. And you dominated in every facet of the game. You dominated in starting pitching. You dominated in bullpen. You dominated in the back end relief. You dominated on offense. And as far as manufacturing runs, you dominated. And on Saturday with the long ball, hitting home runs. So you were able to score in a variety of different ways this weekend. And you are just so extremely deep pitching wise.
Yeah.
The pitching staff is going to be the strength of this team. I don't think there's any question about it.
As crazy
Reagan.
as that sounds.
As crazy as it sounds, as much
There's
talent as you
it's-
have on
it's
offense,
talented.
when you look at Milam and you look at Jones and you look at Danny Dickinson and you look at guys like Larson. I mean, it seems crazy to say, but your pitching staff is going to be the strength of this team.
It's so deep. I mean, Zach, I feel like it's kind of repeating, but the bullpen, not just the freshman, I think the bullpen as a whole is just going to be – you just have so many options. There's so many options. So
and when you have an instance, Reagan,
another one.
When you have an instance when somebody struggles and somebody gets knocked around early on, you have the availability. You have the arms to be able to go to somebody and say, hey, ride us through this. and then you still got guys,
Mhm.
plenty of guys that you can lean on. You know, let's just say it's Cade Anderson. It's on a Friday night, and he barely makes it out of, you know, he doesn't get past 3 innings. You can go to somebody and ride them for 3, 4, 5 innings, and then still have plenty of really good arms available for you for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. You're talking about three, Zach, three guys that everybody was talking about being some of your best arms in Ware and Cowan and Guidry, who did not pitch at all this weekend.
Yeah.
Those are Guidry was a preseason SEC, like all SEC player.
The number,
and he
your
did
number
not
8.
pitch this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to happen in our SEC weekend. But the point is, it's deep. The staff is deep. Very deep. You have so many options. There's so many guys who can give you length. There's so many guys who can put the ball over the plate. It's the strength of the team. It's going to be really, really good for this team. I mean, there's so many guys you can go to. It's the biggest takeaway, without a doubt. It's deeper. I'm going to go ahead and say this. And this may be like a, too early hot take.
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say, and I kind of agree with you.
I really don't think it's that much of a hot take, but it's deeper than your 2023 pitching staff. It's deeper.
You don't have a Paul Skeens.
You don't have Paul Skeens, but it's deeper.
But it's deeper. Yeah.
It's deeper. And I think you have a guy who can be a Ty Floyd in Cade Anderson, Chase Shores, Ianson. I think they could be what Ty Floyd was for you in 2023. You ain't got Paul Skeens, but you got way more arms that I think are going to be a lot more impressive. I don't think that's a hot take, but maybe it is a hot take.
Reagan, so you said you mentioned this, Reagan.
I did.
I honestly would be surprised to see this, but TT says you could see Guidry starting tomorrow. He says he thinks Cowan gets the nod tomorrow. That's what I said. But that you could potentially see Guidry. I think Reagan thinks Guidry is going to get the start tomorrow. Do you think Guidry gets the start tomorrow?
I think he's going to start one of the days. I think I don't. It's one of the days. There's just been people talking about it, that they want to extend him some. And so I think we're going to see that.
Golly, if he goes out and it can extend, that's crazy.
We'll see. I mean, I like him in the closer role in a pinch. Maybe give you 3 innings.
But honestly, Reagan, if you look at what he does, I don't know if the closer role is going to be best suited for him this year because of the outings of what you saw from Schmidt and Jason Evans and Rizzi. Like, there's going to you're going to have somebody. I mean, not all of them are just going to fall apart. Not all of them are going to fail. Like, I know they were impressed with this weekend, but somebody is going to be consistent enough that they're going to be the guy you rely on at the back end.
Yeah, maybe you can use him more because there is other arms that can close games out. So
yeah,
I think that's the point. All right, Zach. I think we have a couple more comments and then we'll wrap things up. I'll say them.
Dad said he noticed that we were getting hit a lot at the plate again already. I mean, yeah, they got hit a lot last year. That's just Jay Johnson.
Jay Johnson, yeah.
Jay Johnson has his hitters crowd the plate. They're going to get hit a lot. They got hit a lot this weekend.
That's part of putting guys on base.
That's getting guys on base. The difference is you're going to see a lot of guys on the move this year. You're going to see a lot of guys attempting to steal bases.
Yeah, you didn't steal it all last year.
Yeah, I mean, 2023, you didn't really do that either. So you're going to see a lot of movement as far as base running goes. So, yep. I think that's about it, Reagan. We probably need to wrap it up. We're 11 minutes over, but it's been a really good show.
It has been, and all of your interaction. I kind of expected it following open weekend to get all this interaction. Appreciate you guys being in here. TT, Carl, Dad.
Be sure to like and share.
Here, Mario, all you guys. It's an exciting time because baseball season's back, so everybody's pumped. And there's more to come, more games to come Tuesday and Wednesday night. So we'll obviously watch those, and we'll be back here Thursday to recap and look forward to the weekend as well. So looking forward to talking about it again on Thursday. We'll see you next time here in the Tigers Avenue Show. Pastor here, take us out. Peace.
Who that five star? Who that five star? Who that five star? And the LSU Tigers, LSU Tigers.